Hey there, everybody. I have had some kind of virus, some flu bug. I don't know what it was. Since Sunday, I usually work on the weekends, not necessarily during the week, and there's a lot less people there, obviously. Well, I went into work Friday, and there were some people that were sick there. I don't usually work Friday, and I don't know if I caught something. I don't know. But Sunday, late in the day, I started feeling pretty lousy, and then I was kind of down for, well, until Tuesday night, maybe. Yesterday, I was really, really worn out. Today's Thursday, so I didn't do anything really the last 3 days. But even though I'm still not going to do a lot today, I thought I'd get outside. It was kind of pretty outside. Sun was out, but I got back in here in the garage and wanted to maybe do a couple projects. Not much, but something fun. But I also wanted to show you a few things too. I've got an idea of getting a couple of Moras, which I bought last night on Amazon, different colors, and doing some modifications on it. Basically, putting ferrocerium rod on there, kind of like I have on here, for someone else, not me. And I got other ideas on how to do it other than this. And actually, I'm going to modify this today. And I've got a video on YouTube that shows how I modified it to this point. But see how this kind of rocks back and forth? I don't like that. These inner tube pieces that are holding it on, I mean, they're just not super, super tight. But this is, I mean, that's down in there real nice. I mean, you can hear it. Okay, it's got a nice little indent there and it holds it very, very well. So I'm okay with that, but I think that what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of this paracord and basically wrap it around here where these Ranger bands are, or whatever you want to call them, and just to tighten that down real good, and hopefully it'll hold that still. We'll see. I'm not sure if it's going to work, but it's still a fun little project that I've been wanting to, well, I've been wanting to fix that for a while. And hopefully this will do it. Another thing that I want to do, my old, I've had it for maybe 5 months. I've got a Schrade CHF or SCHF 9. Okay, nice big knife. This is what I consider to be the very first real bushcraft knife, because it's like full tang. It's got like a 1/4 inch almost spine on it. The only thing I didn't like about it was, first of all, I suck at sharpening, and I'll get back to that in just a minute. And this was difficult for me to sharpen, even though everything is, just because of the way that the blade is shaped and everything. But the other thing is that since I don't have super big hands, this is like a huge handle on here, and it's got this soft rubber, which I kind of liked, but it was just too big. And I got this around the time, I think I've mentioned this to people before, about the time that everything that I owned I wanted to wrap in paracord. I've kind of gotten away from that, but I'm going to get back into that a little bit for stuff like this. And I don't know if you can see it or not, or see it very well, but I have kind of shaved that down. Got some of that excess rubber off. So what I'm going to do when I wrap it is I'm going to take these inner cords out, and so I have a kind of a flat sheath left over. And so when I wrap the handle with this, it'll be a lot closer, a lot tighter to the handle itself. And I think that this feels pretty good the way I've got it trimmed down. And putting this on here without the inner strands, we'll hopefully keep it pretty close to how I have it. Like I said, I was having trouble sharpening. I just suck at it. So here recently, I picked up a couple of items, a couple of Smith sharpening items. This is a diamond sharpener. Kind of just fits right back down in there. You've got a fine side and you've got a coarse side. And you wet it down a little bit. I just use water, just kind of dab it on there and rub it on there. And This has helped me figure out how to sharpen my blades, and to put it another way, it's helped me get that angle just right, which was my biggest problem. Because it's big enough, and I'm not necessarily having to hold it like this. You know what I mean? When you're trying to sharpen it. So you take the Mora, and you can kind of get that angle just right. You can lay it flat on there, and then tilt it, and right there is where the angle is for the grind. And you do that every time, or at least I do it every time, and I know exactly where that grind is, and it just makes it so much better. I haven't got any of my knives exactly where I'd like them, but you know what? Using this, they're better than they were. And this is kind of heavy. It's not necessarily something I carry around in my pack, but using it at home, absolutely. But this is something I would carry around in my pack. And oh, by the way, that is a Smith's. This is also, I believe they call this a Kentucky stone. Am I right about that? But this is a very, very fine grit, finer than it is on this diamond sharpener. But basically, once I get stuff done on there, then I can kind of hold it on here and kind of go over it real fine, not with a lot of pressure on it. And it seems to make a difference. Like I say, not so much on the sharpness of my knives, which they're better, but they're not perfect, and it's also because I don't spend a ton of time on it. But it's teaching me how to do it a little better. So this is my cold steel Trailhawk. I've had this for about 6 months or so, and I cleaned off all the dark off of the head here, and left a little patina on there. I like the way that it looks. And then I stained this handle with like a hickory, I think, stain. And of course I paracorded it. I also left that screw out right there, so I could take this head on and off. And then I wrapped the top here in paracord, which, guess what, kept me from ever taking it off. So, and then of course in the meantime, especially with the weather being colder and everything, that kind of slips up and down. So probably going to do some kind of modification on this. If nothing else, I probably will take the paracord, because I don't really want to put a screw in there. But I'm not real worried about taking this off. I mean, I've gotten so many other blades of different sorts since I got this, that this is just basically something more for fun for me now. But I'll probably take this off and push it up right up against the bottom of the blade to kind of hold it in place. And when summer rolls around, the wood swells a little bit. Of course, this will stick to it a lot better, but it had a really nice edge on here when I first got it, and not so much anymore. And it isn't because of overuse, it's just, you know, I don't know how to sharpen, but I'm learning. So that'll be something. But this is kind of a cool, fun thing. I like it. If I were going to do, like, give presents to the kids or that sort of thing, this is definitely something that I would do, you know, since they like to camp and all that. So anyway. Okay, let's see if I can tighten this down a little bit. See how that moves? No promises, because I just don't know if it's going to work. Alright, so what I've done is I've taken the bands off, and I've taped that cap back on there. And, you know, that fire steel just pops down in there. Okay, let's back this out a little bit, see if we can get it inside that little loop. Okay, kind of hold that in place, and then pull on that, It basically kind of tightens that down. And pull on both ends. There we go. Push that back up like that. That doesn't look too bad. So before I do anything else, let's see how this goes on there. Yeah, it's too tight. Alright, I have another idea. So let's, what I want to do is I want to place a little wedge between the sheath and the end of that cap. Let me do that. I'll come back, okay? Alright, so the wedge that I put in there basically was a piece of paracord that I wrapped around so that it sat right underneath the top of the cap. Then I just tied it off with a square knot in the back, melted the ends so that it would melt into the sheath and into the other cord, or the other end of the cord, and that way it'll stay right there. And now, as you can see, fits in there a lot better. So now I should be able to rewrap this, and maybe if I don't do it so tight as I did before, I think we might have a finished product. So let me do that and I'll show you how it looks. Okay. Alright, I think that that's pretty tight on there. I haven't cinched these down, haven't melted them yet, but I will here in just a sec. But this seems to fit in there a whole lot better. A lot easier to take in and out. And it seems to be holding still. Remember how it used to move? It does move a little bit inside the sheath, meaning this little plastic cap. But the sheath would move too. Now it's not really doing that. It's holding pretty still. So what I wound up doing, and I don't know if you're going to be able to see this or not, but I had some camo duct tape wrapped around the bottom right here, and I took a piece of it that I had left over that I had taken off and folded over 3 or 4 times, and then just tucked it between the cap and that piece of paracord I put on there to kind of wedge it out. And that seemed to do the trick. Let's see if we can get this paracord to melt, and what I'll do is when I get it nice and molten, I'll take the bottom of my lighter and push it over and basically run it along here, or maybe kind of off that way. See what we can do. Let's turn it this way. So we're going to go this way. I want to kind of go against the grain. I got this last strand is going through a loop right here going in this direction. So I kind of want to melt this coming over here in this direction. So it basically has a hook design to it. Hopefully it'll hold it still. So you're not going to really be able to see me do this, but okay. There. So now that end of that paracord is basically melted into this paracord. And so what I'm going to do with this other piece is I'm going to melt it. And you can kind of see that this is the top of the new cordage I put on there. And this is the top, or well, this is the piece that I put underneath the cap here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to melt this. I'm going to pinch that together, and then I'm going to shove that down in between those two pieces so everything will be kind of molded together. And there we go. There you go. There's my mod, and so what I'll probably do is take a little more of that camo duct tape, pull this out, kind of wrap that around, It'll kind of protect the sheath right there from the tip. And plus it'll fancy it up a little bit too. Alright, there you go. I like it. Alright, so I got the Schrade all wrapped up to keep from cutting myself, so I can just grab this thing and do whatever. That paracord that I used to do this modification is the same kind of camo paracord. I have 10 feet paracord. I shaved this down on here to make this a little narrower, so I don't want to thicken it right back to where it was by putting a full paracord on there, so I'm going to remove the inner strands if I can. I never tried to pull them all out before. See what happens. Alright, as you can see, the strands are now out of that outer casing. Here are all the strands. And you can, of course, save these up and use these for anything. These are, you know, this is 550 paracord. And, you know, this is good for a lot of stuff. I mean, you use it for fishing line or whatever you want. Just separate the strands. Definitely will be doing that. Yeah, I don't, I'm not trying to be real fancy with the wrap. There are lots of really cool looking wraps out there, and I wouldn't mind doing that, but I don't know how to do those. And I think if I learned, it would be great, but I also think that I would wind up wrapping everything in sight with it. So this is good enough. Everything that I've wrapped in the past, none of it's come apart. So I like this. And with the strands out of the inside, this wraps nice and flat. Alright, all done with that mod. So these laid out, I've never pulled the inner cord out to use this to wrap anything, and it just lays so nice and flat. It feels really good. I gotta be honest, it's still a touch too big for my hand, but you know, I can always trim a little more off. But I like it. Put a little lanyard on it. So that worked out real well. I like it. Everything's nice and secure on it. Alright, these rings, or at least one of them, my Condor Bushlore, I'm thinking about maybe turning it into a dangler, or at least giving me that option. So naturally it's, you know, sort of like this, except bigger. And so, you know, I'd want to put one of those rings around the belt loop right here. And what I'm thinking is, since these don't actually open, these are solid rings all the way around, that I might take the hacksaw and see if I can cut through it. And even if I can get like that much of it out of there, just a tiny bit, just so I can kind of squeeze it over the loop, that it's not going to come off there. Alright, that was quick and easy though. That ring cut real easy. Just put it in the vise, and all I did was just cut it. That's all I did. I didn't try to make a notch in it. I didn't try to cut it twice to make it wider. Anything like that. The spring and the steel itself, once I cut it, probably opened it up. Maybe a millimeter, maybe 2. Not enough to fit it in the knife, but it was, while it was still mounted in the vise, I kind of got some pliers and pulled on a little bit and opened it up, and it didn't take too much, and then I was able to put it on here. Okay, the battery ran out when I was in the garage, so I was bringing everything in anyway, so I decided to just go ahead and do that and take this little final shot of everything. This is my Schrade SCHF 9. This is 550 paracord wrap that I've taken the 7 strands out of the inside. It makes for a nice flat wrap. Alright, and this is the Mora that I changed the modification on. I did not take the strands out of this, but it's nice and tight. The reason I changed it is because when you moved it back and forth like that, it moves in the sheath, sheath for the ferro rod, but the ferro rod sheath does not move. So that's what I was attempting to do, and that's what I did. And this is my Condor Bushlore. And I got this steel ring, and now I got a dangler there if I want it. So what I did was I just attached this ring to the vise and just took a hacksaw and cut right through there, and just the tension in the ring alone kind of popped it open about as far as you see it right there. And then I just took some pliers and kind of bent it a little bit to widen it out, and slipped it up there on the belt loop, and there it is. It's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to come off of there. You can see that the thickness of the belt loop is thicker than that little opening right there in the ring. So anyway, there you go. Thanks for watching.